Hi, Sadie here, and today I am going to show you how to make our perfect guest pie carrier. So here are the pieces that you're going to need. This is the main front of the pie carrier, and I've pre-stitched my little pie here from the CME Fall Embroidery Collection. I've got my lining fabric, which I went ahead and put a fusible interfacing on the back to give it a bit more weight and make my overall pie carrier a bit more sturdy. And then I have my two 15-inch webbing straps. So let's get started. So the first step is going to be attaching the webbing handles. And to do that, I want to measure over 5 inches from each side on the short ends, and that's going to be my placement for the webbing. So I'm just going to let it hang over slightly, and I'm going to throw a couple pins in that to hold that in place. And without twisting my webbing, I'm going to come around and I'm going to measure 5 inches from this side, and that's going to be where the webbing gets attached here. Again, just leaving it hanging over the side, and I'm going to throw a pin in there. And I'm going to repeat on the other short end. All right, so I now have my two handles pinned in place, and I have the bulk of the handle going towards the center of the pie carrier, and you want to keep those tucked out of the way. And I'm going to sandwich my lining fabric now over the top, and I'm going to pin this all the way around, but I'm going to leave about a 3 or 4 inch opening on one of the long sides for turning. All right, so now I'm going to stitch all the way around this big rectangle, and I actually made 2 marks with a heat erasable pen for myself to mark where I'm going to leave it open so that I don't forget and just stitch around the whole thing when I'm zenned out sewing, and then have to pop that out. So I left that, put those marks there, and that is actually where I'm going to start sewing. And I'm going to follow a 3/8 inch seam allowance for this step. When I get to the corner, I'm going to just put my needle down and do a pivot turn to make that corner. And when I come up on my strap, I could see that where the strap is because I fudged it outside of the seam allowance a little bit. And so I'm just going to make sure that I'm really reinforcing that so I don't drop the pie. So I've finished sewing all the way around, and the next step is going to be to clip these corners off. So very carefully, just clipping right up to those stitches without clipping the actual stitch. And this just helps with the turning to the right side and gives you nice crisp corners. So I've got those off, and then I'm going to flip it all through that opening that I left to the right side. So I'm going to use this chopstick to square out some of these corners and make them nice and sharp. And once I have that all done, I am going to top stitch. So I'm going to lay this out nice and flat. I'm going to give it a good press, and I'm going to top stitch around the entire rectangle. And when I do that, it's going to be closing this hole that I left open for turning. Okay, so now that I've finished top stitching, I am going to mark the center of each of the long sides. So I'm going to mark that center by folding the pie carrier in half, and I'm just going to throw a pin where the center is just to mark it for the time being. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to open this back up. Okay, so from my center pin, I am going to measure over 1.5 inches and just put a pin there to indicate that measurement. And then I'm gonna go the opposite direction, 1.5 inches, and place a pin there. And then what happens is on this long edge, I'm going to fold up to bring up the short end, meeting that pin, and I'm going to put a couple more pins here, and I'm going to top stitch this end. And now we're getting kind of thick because I used denim, so I just have to be a little bit careful pinning so I don't either poke myself or pin it crooked. So I've got that pinned in, and I'm going to do the same with this side and then repeat that with the other side and top stitch. And there you have it, my finished pie carrier. All I need now is a pie. And here is the beautiful pie that I have inside the project that was featured in the Creative Machine Embroidery Winter 23 issue. It's the Perfect Guest Pie Carrier pattern, which you can get at sewdaily.com. If you'd like quick and easy tutorials like these, be sure to subscribe to Sew Daily. Happy sewing!